Welcome back to News Now on PNC, and welcome Joanna O. What's going on with weather?
So there has been a warnings of marine advisories, and the U.S. issued high surf advisory on Guam and small craft advisory for Marianas waters. Now these advisories are effect until 4 p.m. tomorrow. So until then, if you have any plans to go out in the waters, you better just stay in. And for those of you who's watching this, better stay in and just watch PNC. Main reason why both advisories are on is because of high winds brought by a shear line. Now, it's interesting because tonight, as well as for next 2 days, we're looking at northeast winds of 10 to 20 miles per hour, which is quite usual. So what is not usual? What did this shear line do? The temperatures are normally lows around upper 70s, but tonight and tomorrow we're expecting 74 degrees and 75 on the Thursday. Fortunately, highs continues to stay in upper 80s. Now skies will be mostly cloudy with isolated showers for tonight and tomorrow. However, starting tomorrow night, clouds and shear line will clear up a bit, bringing partly cloudy not mostly, partly cloudy skies with isolated showers on Thursday. And that goes for Saipan as well as on Guam.
All right, thanks, Joanna.
Cold weather.
Yeah, it has been.
Yeah. Well, speaking of weather, we're still on the topic. The windy weather and rough seas are causing concern for beachgoers. PNC's Betsy Brown visited Ipao Beach today to ask lifeguards about water safety and the recently spotted Portuguese man-of-war in Guam waters.
After 3 drowning deaths over the weekend, beachgoers are being warned to watch the conditions.
The condition has been like this pretty much for the last couple of days, for the past weekend. Right now, just this time of the year, we get cold fronts from Japan, and you know, it creates strong currents, high surf, you know, common for this time of the year.
Department of Parks and Recreation lifeguard Robert Miranda says parents should always keep a close watch on their children when at the beach, and every beachgoer should pay attention to the water currents and the weather.
We can't really control where they can swim, but what we can do is pretty much advise them and try our best to make sure that you know, no one gets hurt.
And while jellyfish have also been spotted in the area, Ipao Beach did remain open today as there have been no reported stingings.
If we get multiple jellyfish stings, then we will close it down.
Okay.
Multiple jellyfish, but as for that, you know, if it's just 1 or 2 out of everybody in the beach, then, you know, we continue to operating.
Okay.
Until we get multiple stings, more than a couple, then we'll make that decision to close the beach.
The type of jellyfish in Guam seas right now are the Portuguese man-of-war. And Miranda says if you get stung by one, you should wash out your sting with fresh water immediately and then seek medical attention. Betsy Brown, PNC News.
And the Guam Department of Education had to shuffle employees around when 17 teachers in one of their smallest schools called in sick last Friday. PNC's Rosel Romanes joins us with more. Rosel?
PNC learned today that Inarahan Middle School was forced to borrow staff from other schools because an unusually high amount of teachers called out last week. I spoke with the department's superintendent today. Here's what happened. Inarahan Middle School is the smallest middle school on island with a student body of about 600 and around 50 teachers employed. What happens when more than 1/4 of the teachers are out sick in one day? Well, IMS found out when 17 teachers couldn't work on Friday.
According to the school administrator, there were 10 who called in sick on Friday, and there were 7 who were on pre-arranged absences for a variety of reasons. Some were on off-island arrangements to tend to medical needs for either themselves or a family member.
Department of Education Acting Superintendent Rob Malay says this was an extraordinary situation. To cover for the shortage of teachers at the school for that day, teacher assistants from neighboring schools were asked to fill in.
We don't typically have that high of an absentee rate on any given day at any given school. But with this unique circumstance, we felt that it was necessary to make sure we provided additional resources so that the school could continue operation and the kids could get their education.
Malay assures PNC that none of the other schools were affected. He says out of the 17 teachers that called in sick Friday, all but 3 were in attendance for Professional Development Day yesterday.
Well, if it was a habitual situation, then that would be cause for concern, but it hasn't been a habitual situation that has risen to the level of the Office of the Superintendent. No, it was just a very unique situation where either a child was sick or an employee was sick, and it all happened at the same time on the same day.
All right, thanks, Rizal. Staying on the education topic, Guam Department of Education Superintendent John Fernandez is in Washington, D.C. to talk with federal officials about getting the department off of high-risk status. Fernandez also plans to talk to U.S. DOE about securing federal grants. Guam DOE is still considered as high risk after 10 years, which, according to federal regulations, means the department either is not financially stable, has a history of unsatisfactory performance, or does not meet management standards. Fernandez says he wants to change that by first getting rid of the third-party agent that handles federal grants. Fernandez tells PNC that he'll be asking U.S. DOE officials to reconsider the need for the third-party agent because it costs the department $3 to $4 million a year.
He's there to openly communicate to them what we're doing, what we've done, what we have planned moving forward, so that we can continue this progress of moving toward getting off the high-risk status.
Malay says a thorough review of Guam DOE has to be requested and completed before the department can get rid of its high-risk label. He says, though, DOE may not be ready for a review just yet. He notes that several improvements have been made to the department.
Governor Eddie Calvo has appointed some new directors and deputy directors. As of yesterday, Felix Benavente has been appointed as the Deputy Director of the Department of Public Works, Peter A. Atta as the Deputy Director of the Department of Youth Affairs, and William Regis as the Deputy Director of the Department of Parks and Recreation. As of February the 9th, Tony Bloss will be appointed Director of the Department of Administration, Alfred F. Duenas as the Deputy Director of DOA, Jose S. Calvo as the Director of BBMR, and Lester L. Carlson as the Deputy Director of BBMR.
With the rising cost of college tuition coupled with inflation rates, it seems more difficult now than ever for many students to strive for a degree in fields such as medicine. Well, PNC met with a young couple who gives us an idea of what it's like to go through medical school and whether it's actually worth it.
I grew up in Guam and left for college, so I went to St. John's and was
Dr. Amanda Del Rosario says once she's completed her residency in California, she plans to come back to Guam and serve the local community.
but the plan really was always to come back to the island to serve the community, and it's part of the reason I went into medicine in the first place.
When she returns, she plans to bring along her husband, Dr. Michael They are on Guam this week as part of their pediatric residency training. At a press conference at the American Medical Center, Dr. Vince Akimoto says Doctors Del Rosario and are a perfect example of the kinds of doctors they want to attract to Guam. Young, energetic, and for Dr. Del Rosario, a returning resident. But with the rising cost of tuition for medical school, many can be discouraged by the numbers. While they agree, they say it's worth it.
So tuition costs about $45,000 a year, not including living expenses. A lot of times the schools will give grants and scholarships on top of that. It's very doable. I don't feel like I've lived in, sacrificing daily necessities. We're not starving students.
Ramen. So it's worth it.
So far, it's worth it. Yeah.
Del Rosario says since Guam has a shortage in physicians, there are many opportunities to practice medicine on Guam, whereas in the States, it may be difficult for some to practice right away.
The other thing that a lot of people don't realize is medical school was actually pretty fun. Residency was, surprisingly fun. You meet a lot of smart, motivated, intelligent people that kind of, inspire you to be the best doctor you can be.
So some words of advice for those who want to get into medicine?
I would say that early exposure is really key to get a good idea of, what it means to be in medicine. I think not giving up is key because, we've both been through, pre-med courses, and we've both, felt the pressure and, having to sort of compete with other pre-med students. And as long as you don't give up and you you just keep trying and, you know, you put in your work, it's really rewarding at the end.
Both Del Rosario and are completing their residency at the UC San Francisco Children's Hospital in Oakland.